What's up guys, this is the Tryin Ryan with another coffee tutorial, but actually it's going to be this time a tea tutorial because we're going to be making some tea in these teas or teasy makers. We can make some hot tea, iced tea. There's a little bit of a difference between them, how many grams of loose leaf we're going to use, along with how much hot water we're going to use, and we're going to go ahead and get into that today. Our current practice that we have with all of our loose leaf teas is we're going to be using 10 grams for a small, 15 grams for a large. If we are making a hot one, we use the full 12 ounces of hot water or 16 ounces for a large. And then if we're using iced, we're going to be doing half the amount of water. And the reason for that is because when it is an iced beverage, you're going to brew it extra strong in the water. So we're going to use the same amount of loose leaf, the 10 grams and 15 grams, but we're using half the amount of water. So we're doing 6 ounces in a small and 8 ounces in a large, because that way it brews it really strong, right? And then we're going to be using these cocktail shakers to be able to shake the iced tea in it. The smaller one is 12 ounces. So we fill this up all the way with our ice. And then once we have our tea ready to go, we're going to put it into the ice, shake it up. And if it's a small, it's completely done because that's like a 12-ounce beverage. You just pour it into the cup, ready to go. If it's going to be a large, we're just going to add a couple ice cubes in the bottom of the cup, so that way it changes that difference between the 12 ounce and 16 ounce, because you're already putting more hot water in here and it's diluting it back down to a regular cup of tea with shaking it up and melting the ice. But we need just a little bit more ice that's not going to fit in here, so we got to put that in the bottom of the 16-ounce cup. So just to show you, for example, I have something called a Sunshine Colada herbal tea. It's a rooibos base. It's very good with like dried coconut and dried pineapple. It's so good. And I'm sure that whatever tea that you guys have is going to be amazing as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that into the teasy maker. And I already tared my scale down to 0, so I can just measure it out. I'm going to make an iced small. So I'm going to measure out 10 grams into this maker. And this maker, thankfully, already had some of the ounces marked out for us. So I just used a permanent marker so it was a little bit easier to see where the small ice, large ice, small hot, and large hot water marks are. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this up with hot water up to the small iced mark. For us, this is an herbal tea, so we steep our herbal teas for 3 minutes. We also steep our black teas and our oolong teas for 3 minutes, and then our green and white teas we steep for 2 minutes, and there's a little bit of a difference. I'm going to include a link that describes a little bit better what temperature you should be steeping your teas at. And depending on what hot water spigot you use, you might have to put some ice in with the loose leaf so that it cools that water down to the appropriate temperature so that it doesn't burn the tea as it's blooming in that hot water. So now that I got my tea steeping right here, I'm going to go ahead and fill up the smaller of the cocktail shaker up to the brim with ice, because that's the 12 ounce that I need. And if you're making an iced beverage, you would want to put any syrups into the ice shaker. So you would pour it right over the top of the ice, so that way when you pour the tea over top of the ice, it's just blending all together. You're going to shake it up. It's going to be a delicious, equally cold beverage. If you are going to be using a thicker sweetener such as agave or honey, you're going to want to put it in the larger shaker so that you can pour a little bit of the hot tea in the larger shaker and pour the rest of the tea over the iced shaker so that you can use a spoon and stir in any of that really thick sweetener in there, so that way it's ready to go. And you would pour it in to your small ice shaker, then combine them, shake them up, and we'll be ready to go. All right, our tea is ready to mix in with the ice. So I'm gonna grab this tea maker. I'm gonna put it right over top of the ice shaker, and it goes straight in there. I love these tea makers because it's so much easier to use, and it's not gonna burn my hand because it's got all the ice in there, right? Because otherwise, if this was a hot beverage, I wouldn't wanna hold it with a hot cup with hot tea. It's gonna be very hot. Hey, real quick, if you're getting anything out of this video, please like and subscribe. It would help me a ton. Thank you so much. So now I'm going to go ahead and pour this into the larger shaker. I'm going to put this down and push down on this cocktail shaker and then start shaking. And now that I know that it's fully cold, because I can feel it on my hand, everything is cold, about the same temperature. I'm going to start removing this top shaker, which is the small one. And I'm going to pour that into the small cup. And that is ready to go. It's got some nice little foam on top here. because of shaking it, and it lets the aroma out all the better. Shaking the iced tea is really important because it lets all the aromas out with all those bubbles, and it equally cools off the beverage so that immediately with the first sip and to the last sip, there's going to be no extra dilution other than whatever they wait for with the tea in their like hot car or outside. Once you dilute the ice down by shaking it with that hot water, their first sip is going to be exactly what the tea is supposed to taste like, versus waiting and just pouring it over the ice and handing it to them. It's not going to be fully diluted, so that first sip might be stronger, and then that next sip might be way less strong because the ice finally diluted in with it just that fast. But if you go ahead and dilute it by yourself with the shaker and then hand it to them, they're going to be much more appreciative and realize the quality that's in that cup for them. I think also people just like feeling taken care of with the cocktail shaker. I think it's just a special thing that you can do for your customers. So I would definitely recommend shaking all of your iced teas. Now with an iced beverage like this that has a froth at the top, I definitely want to use a sip lid instead of a flat lid, because that way when someone wants to enjoy it, they don't have to drink it through the straw. They can drink it straight through the top. All right, so now this is all ready to go. And subtle little thing, if you have a logo on your cup, wherever you work, try to put the sip on the opposite side so that when someone drinks it, the logo is out facing towards whoever else they might be drinking this in front of. Cleanup, very simple. Dump anything that is left into the sink. I'm just gonna rinse around the edge and swirl out the inside, make sure it's nice and clean, there's nothing left in there. And this shouldn't be a problem even if it's honey or agave, because if you did it with the hot in the larger one first, it should be so thin that you shouldn't have to worry about it being in the bottom at all anymore. So this one had a little bit left, so I'm just gonna dump it out, rinse the outside, rinse the inside. There we go, nice and clean. Tea maker has some loose leaf left in it. Don't leave that for yourself or anyone else. We have a strainer here in our sink. So we just have the strainer down there. We pour the loose leaf into the strainer. That way it lets any of the liquid through into the sink. And then I'm gonna rinse it out a couple times through the strainer. So I'm gonna pour it in the tea maker, swirl it around a little bit, pour it out, shake it, set it to the side in our other dish rack. That's right there. Good to go.
Thanks again for watching, everybody. If you felt that this was helpful for you, please like and or comment below to let me know. I have more coffee tutorial videos right up here for you. And also, if you'd like to be notified of when I make more coffee tutorial content, please click subscribe and ring the notification bell down below. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day. See you guys next time.